our pleasure now to have the head football coach for the Washington State Cougars, Kirby Moore, joining us on the show. Kirby, thank you for taking the time. You were officially hired in December. You had a great spring with the team. You were in Seattle last night. How have things been going so far for you over at Washington State?
Yeah, it's been great. I cannot thank the school leadership enough in terms of their support, and I think our staff in a short amount of time in terms of retaining the roster, adding guys through the portal, obviously attacking the offseason in the weight room, and then spring ball. And then now it's really about looking at what was really good in spring ball, where some areas where we can improve. Our staff's on the road recruiting. Our players, right, are able to reset, get home, see their friends and family, and then we're going to attack the summer here soon.
A lot of new for you, obviously new school here, but it's also your first head coaching job. What's the biggest challenge right now?
I mean, I think naturally, just in terms of the climate of college football, everything happens a little bit faster maybe than you want it right away. But that's where the staff's done a tremendous job in terms of just the communication and being on the same page, because it takes everyone in terms of the players that were staying, the players adding through the portal, obviously being on the same page from an offense, defense, and special teams standpoint.
Coach, I played football at UW, but my younger brother spent a lot of time over there in the Palouse playing football as well. So there's still some love there. It's not all bad between the Huskies and Cougs right there. We're going to talk about the Apple Cup here in a little bit, but you grew up in Prosser. So what does it mean to you coming back to the state of Washington, being the coach at the school that you grew up watching?
Yeah, ton of pride. Grew up, my dad got the head coaching job at Prosser. My parents are from the Midwest. My dad got the job in Prosser in 1986. And growing up, coming to Cougar spring practice, right? Mike Price, Bill Doba, Rose Bowls, and now having the opportunity to lead the program. It's something that I probably pinch myself every day.
What, Coach, is the identity you want Washington football to have? As you take over this program, as you build this program, we've already talked about some things you're doing. What is the identity outside of Pullman, outside of Washington State football fans that you want the Cougars to have when it comes to their football team?
Yeah, I really think it starts with attacking and making sure on offense they got to defend us. We got a ton of confidence in our personnel, and we got to play to their strengths. And then on defense, Coach Bray's done a tremendous job right away of playing an attacking style of defense. And you look at when Oregon State took a huge step as a program, it's when Jonathan Smith made that change from a defensive standpoint, and Coach Bray got those guys playing really, really fast.
Yeah, and you mentioned Oregon State. Just your thoughts on this conference. It's you played at Boise State, you coached at Fresno State. Now you got to go up against both of them. Just your thoughts overall. This is going to be a great conference, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really competitive conference. You look at the number of teams who've consistently gone to bowl games, and in terms of the margins and across the national landscape, some teams who've really challenged opponents across the West Coast. It is going to be an exciting brand of football.
You talked about the challenge of this new college landscape earlier. How do you convince players to choose Pullman in the NIL and transfer portal?
Yeah, I think just naturally for our players to reach some of the goals that they want, they got to do it on the field. And some guys have already done it in Pullman. Some guys, Pullman was the right opportunity for them. The big thing for us throughout the portal was making sure the players who were on visits were a fit for Washington State and Pullman. Right. And in terms of just how tight-knit community, the players coming together, which has been a bonus naturally as this offseason's progressed. But I think our coaching staffs, too, some of the experiences that they've had in terms of helping players reaching their goals. And so that's been a nice fit for a number of guys.
All right, Coach. Being a Washington kid, I knew you grew up loving the Apple Cup. It's a big deal. You know how important it is to everybody in the state, whether you went to one school or the other one. You guys are going to play the Huskies in week 1 now, and that's completely different than anything we've ever experienced. We want to know, first of all, what are your thoughts on a week 1 Apple Cup, and how important is it to keep this a rivalry game?
Yeah, very important to keep this rivalry. I think there's very few times in life where you get to be the first to do something, right? And so this whole offseason, we want to make sure we are building towards the first game and maximizing that opportunity in the Apple Cup. I think right now, too, it's about throughout this offseason making sure some of the new players to Washington State that there's an educational piece in terms of the program and the Apple Cup and everything that comes with it. So we're going to have a few guest speakers, Ryan Leaf, Jack Thompson coming in during the June period and making sure we're educating the team about the Apple Cup as well.
Terry's loving it, by the way, Coach. We were just showing some video of the Cougars celebrating Apple Cup victories in Seattle, and Terry's almost walked off the set here. So, Terry, you doing okay?
I'm managing. My therapy session last night helped a lot.
Coach, your brother is a coach. We know that. You already mentioned your dad. He was a successful coach at Prosser High School. I love high school football so much. What have you learned from both of them, and do you still carry it with you to this day?
Yeah, you always got to evolve. I think that's one thing they did a great job at Prosser, right? The high school rosters never stay the same. So every year they were always adapting, adjusting, improvising at Prosser High School. And you look at the success and going to, I think it was 8 state championships, winning 5. And probably Kellen's experience, visiting him at a number of places, whether it was in Dallas or going to visit when he was in Philly with the Eagles and being the OC there for the Super Bowl, and how they adapted their offense to the personnel. And we always want to make sure if there's a way we can improve our offense or our program, we're doing it, right? And so from a professional standpoint, that relationship is incredible. And a number of our guys want to reach that level. And so if there's a coaching point, a technique, a drill that we can help them with or expose them to, that maybe they're coaching the guys in the Saints the same way, right? I think that's a bonus.
And you mentioned adapting with change is something everybody has to. I mean, we're doing streaming shows now. That's something we didn't do, as last year. You're always adapting with change. I got to ask you your thoughts on just the whole social media world, because these high school kids, these college kids, they live on that world. How do you approach that, I guess, when it comes to recruiting and trying to pump them up on that aspect of life?
I would say it's great with recruiting how quick you can find someone's film, right? And those stats and word travels fast. And so that is awesome just in terms of finding those guys on the West Coast quickly. Someone's on a visit, we'll pull up their film within 5-10 minutes. I think with our players, it's just very important that, naturally sometimes now everyone wants things really fast, right? There's the instant gratification. And in football and athletics, like nothing's going to happen overnight, right? We're not going to build the offense that we want overnight, defense, special teams. And then, from an individual player development standpoint, it has got to be little by little, little becomes a lot. And let's just get a little bit better, right? Spring ball, practice 1 should have looked a whole of a heck lot different than practice 15. And that's the big emphasis throughout the program.
All right, Ariel and I are going to be calling, Washington State highlights when it's fall time. I know it's only May right now, but as we look forward to the fall, as we look forward to your games and when things get rolling, I know it's a total team sport. Maybe throw out a couple names maybe we need to keep an eye on that could become big stars over in Pullman with the Washington State football program.
Well, I first say guys who stayed and chose to stay at Washington State, and that really starts from a receiver position, Tony Freeman, a guy who's done it consistently here in Pullman, and then the running backs, Kirby Voorhees, Max Wood, Leo Palasi. All 3 of those guys have done a great job from last season. I think building throughout the offseason, the offensive line, those guys coming together, because you got to have all 5 on the same page, but a number of guys chose to stay at Washington State. And then defensively, 2 guys who I think from a leadership standpoint, Caden Beatty and Keith Brown, have been a mainstays there on defense and do a really good job of keeping that communication that we need on defense.
Okay, I think you were probably in elementary school when Terry was playing for the Huskies. But, Coach, he was averaging 7.2 yards per carry. Should he have got the ball more?
Say it.
I would say so, yeah. 7 point, that is impressive.
I just happen to play behind 2 Hall of Famers, that's all.
And Terry, I'm taking another shot at you and myself here. When we look at this 4th shot, you look at Ariel, and the hair is just perfect. It's on point. But, Coach, I'm going to tell you what, the show now, 4 weeks old, I think you got the best hair that we've ever seen on this show.
Easily.
I got to ask, what shampoo are you using, Coach?
I got to thank my parents. My mother-in-law is in the salon business, so naturally, right, she's in Prosser. Anytime I'm there, I make sure she gets me right.
Yeah, Kirby, my dad's in the salon industry too, so I just grew up in it. I'm obsessed with it. I feel like it's very important. I think your hair is your best feature, could be, or you're not, lack thereof is your best feature.
Look, I'm going to hit both of you guys up after the show and figure out what I can do here to fix this up.
Yeah, I'm heading to Prosser right now to head to the salon. I got to get rolling on this.